UFC 322, Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. What an amazing fight, man. What an amazing fight. There's certain fights that it just brings out the fight nerd in you. You start watching the tape, you're like, the takedowns, the throws, the trips, the sweeps, the combinations, the striking. That's this kind of fight. That's this kind of fight. You show someone the names Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev, and you show them the poster for UFC 322, they're like, we know what time it is. We know what time it is. We got two guys in their absolute prime. Jack Della Maddalena coming off of a very impressive victory over Belal Muhammad to win the title. Islam Makhachev going on an incredible run at 155 pounds, running through everybody, dominating damn near everybody. Now he looks to come up to the 170-pound division and win a second title. And not just win a second title, but start to really enter his name into the GOAT conversation. That's what I believe is at stake for Islam Makhachev in this fight. But there's one thing that I'm constantly wrestling back and forth with in my mind that is the reason that I do not have an official prediction yet. And it is a very important detail to this fight, man, and I feel like that is what is going to determine who is going to win this fight. And that is the fact that Jack Della Maddalena, he's a scrambly little rascal, man. He's a scrambly little rascal on the ground, right? And a lot of the times when you see a scrambly fighter on the ground, right, they get taken down, they're antsy. They want to get back up there. They're like, I want to strike, man. I want to be entertaining. I want to get back to my feet, man. Get me off the ground. That's what Jack Della Maddalena does. That's what he brings to the table. That's what I envision going on in JDM saying, man, get me up. I got to get up, man. I'm the scrappy little rascal. I got to get back to my feet. I want to light you up with my elite boxing. But that comes with a cost. That comes with a cost when you're in there with a super high-level guy on the floor like Islam Makhachev. Because whenever you're creating scrambles and you're deciding to try to recklessly work back to your feet, you have that sense of urgency and antsiness that we saw against Gilbert Burns, that we saw against Belal Muhammad. That ain't Islam Makhachev. So if you're going to carry that same kind of antsy energy of wanting to explode back to your feet, I could just see Islam Makhachev locking in a submission and getting JDM out of there. But I feel like JDM is going to know better than that coming into this fight for a couple of reasons. Number one, he knows that Islam Makhachev is as elite as it gets, man. He knows that he's a well-rounded fighter. He knows that he's elite on the floor. He knows that he is not Gilbert Burns and Belal Muhammad, where you can't just explode back to your feet with leaving a limb available for this guy to grab a hold of. So I do believe that Jack Della Maddalena is going to have a very different approach for Islam when it comes to getting taken down and entertaining the grappling than he did against those guys, because they don't really necessarily have a threat. I know on paper, Gilbert Burns is a super dangerous jiu-jitsu guy, but in terms of MMA, he's not that dangerous. We all know that by now. It's just the reality. We know that Jack Della is working with Craig Jones. We know that Craig Jones is a wizard, man. We saw him work with Alexander Volkanovski. He clearly has a very strong understanding for the chain wrestling style, the style that the Dagestanis bring to the table, and he has a very clear idea of how they operate, what they do, and what they are looking for. Don't you think having that in the corner, if you're Jack Della Maddalena, is going to be very helpful? We got to see against Belal Muhammad, his takedown defense was the best it's ever been in his career. The reality is, Belal Muhammad mixed in quite a few takedowns. The problem was he was having zero success with them because Jack Della Maddalena has made some nice adjustments in his game. One, getting his hands lower to dig for the underhooks, as well as bringing his guard and his head down to be able to stuff and stop the takedowns when you change your levels. So those are two disastrous issues for fighters moving forward when they fight Jack Della Maddalena. However, Islam is a completely different style of grappler than Belal and guys like Gilbert Burns. So where I wrestle with this idea is if Islam is able to get JDM down, and JDM has this antsy, scrambly rascal little style to where he wants to get back to his feet, will he get caught in a darce? Will he get, caught in that front headlock position to where Islam's going to start to open some things up and look for some of those submission attempts? That's where things are going to get dicey. Right up against the fence, if JDM gets backed up against the fence, that's where Islam does some of his best work. We often find Jack with his back up against the octagon side. If you're there against Islam, that's a problem. That's where Islam does some of his best work, man. Gets to his trips, his sweeps, his throws. And it's not to say he can't take you down out in space, but that is really where Jack Della Maddalena has become a problem for guys to be able to take him down, is out towards the center of the octagon, out in space. He's got good footwork. He's elusive. He's moving well, creating angles, timing you with his boxing. And I feel like if Jack Della Maddalena can stop the Islam Makhachev takedowns, if he can get back to the feet safely and discourage Islam with the takedowns, boy, do I believe Islam is going to be in for a long night, man. I believe that he is going to be in for a really long night if he cannot have success on the floor. So that, to me, is the great question. Is Jack Della Maddalena, being this scrambly little rascaler, man, this scrambly little son of a gun, is he gonna pay for that in this fight? Does he come out with that kind of approach? I'm not sure that he does. But if he does, he's going to leave those windows of opportunity for Islam Makhachev to submit him and get him out of there. Right? And if he accepts being on the bottom, right, not wanting to create those scrambles because he knows that he's leaving himself vulnerable to the possibility of being submitted, well, then we're going to see Islam Makhachev be able to control him on the floor, be able to win minutes, be able to land some ground and pound, be able to advance positions, be able to really neutralize what JDM does well. So a lot of this to me is kind of riding on, if JDM gets taken down, what is his approach going to be? Because I believe that on the feet, Jack Della Maddalena is better than Islam Makhachev. Now, I will say this. I believe that Islam Makhachev is the more complete mixed martial artist. I believe that he is more elite than Jack Della Maddalena as a whole, as a mixed martial artist. But JDM is damn good on the feet, man. He's just not a good striker. He's not just a great striker. I believe that behind Ilia Topuria, he is the most elite boxer in the sport of mixed martial arts, and one of the most elite boxers that we've ever seen in MMA. And if you're getting rocked around by Volkanovski in fight number 1, if you're getting tagged up on the feet by an older Dustin Poirier, that's where I get real nervous, man. That's where I get real nervous. Like the takedowns, you're not having a ton of success if you're Islam in those fights, right? And JDM's going to be a bigger, stronger guy. Right, we know that. Islam, I know he's bulking up well, and he looks like a unit right now, coming up, prepared for the welterweight division. Jack Della Maddalena is tough, man. He's durable. He's a big, strong guy. Right? So I got these questions in the aspect of, if Islam is getting hit by those guys, what happens if that's Jack Della Maddalena? That's a natural question. That's the question that I have, man, because I can tell you right now, Jack Della Maddalena is a better striker than Alexander Volkanovski, and I believe that he's a better striker than Dustin Poirier. Right? Maybe you can make the argument for Volk with the speed, the footwork, all those kinds of things. But in terms of the boxing, JDM is definitely better than Volk, and he's definitely better than Dustin Poirier. He's, without question, the best boxer that Islam Makhachev has ever faced. And we have seen fighters that tidy up the takedown defense and can keep the fight on the feet and fight behind, a very strong boxing base. They've been having a tremendous amount of success in their fights recently. That's where I get stumped. Can Jack Della Maddalena keep this fight on the feet? And if he gets taken down, can he get up safely? And if he can, I believe Islam Makhachev is going to be in for a very hard night, man. I believe he's going to be in for a very hard night. Now, that's not to say that Islam Makhachev can't go out there. The takedowns don't work, right? He's having a hard time with the distance, so he's stuck on the feet. That's not to say that he can't go out there and do very well against JDM on the feet, because we've seen Islam Makhachev outbox Dustin Poirier. We've seen, especially, in the first Volkanovski fight, he got stuck on the feet for, a good majority of that fight, and he's outstriking Volkanovski. We saw in the rematch, again, it was short notice for Volk, but he went out there and knocked him out with a head kick. We saw him drop Charles Oliveira on the feet and then get his submission. We know that Islam Makhachev is incredibly good on the feet, man. He's very durable. He's very evasive defensively, slides in and out of the pocket very, very well. He's more of a methodical type of striker. Good kicks, solid boxing, good knees, mixes things up very well. Very dynamic on the feet, man. I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves for how dynamic he actually is when it comes to the striking. We know as a grappler, he's about as complete as it gets. But I just have those questions, man. I have those questions. And then on the JDM side, we've seen him taken down and controlled by Gilbert Burns. And we're like, well, if that's Islam Makhachev, that's a totally different beast, man. If Basil Hafez is taking down JDM and controlling him on the floor, and Islam Makhachev, again, a very different beast. That's what makes this fight so interesting to me, man. If they get stuck on the feet and we're having back and forth striking exchanges, maybe Islam is a little bit faster, right? The lighter fighter moving up to the welterweight division here, right? And again, it's a 15-pound jump. right? It's not like he's going from bantamweight to featherweight where it's only 10 pounds. This is a 15-pound jump here. Now, one of the big things with Islam Makhachev, we've known that he has had a brutal weight cut. He cuts a ton of weight to get down to 155, right? So I feel like we're going to see a big, strong, less drained, obviously, and just might see the best version of Islam that we have ever seen. That's a terrifying thought, man. That's a terrifying thought. Does he come out here and carry that kind of lighter skill advantage to this fight? Because JDM, even though he's a bigger guy, he moves really well for a welterweight, man. He's got welterweight power, mixes shots to the body well, mixes things up, switches stances, creates these angles, mixes in kicks as well. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for how good of a kicker he actually is. He is a well-rounded striker, man. So I can see this fight going a number of ways. Does Islam go out there with a grapple-heavy approach? Is he able to hide the takedowns behind the combinations? Is he able to kind of learn from what Bilal did a little bit, which was Bilal was shooting a lot of blind takedowns, was backing him up against the fence. But again, Bilal is very limited as a grappler. He's more of a control-based wrestler. Whereas Islam Makhachev, we know that is not his game. We know that is not his game. He could take you down out in space, right? He'll throw some shots, dip underneath, level change, back you up against the fence, get to his trips, get on top, and then he is going to start to work. You're going to create a scramble, boom, he's going to try to lock in that Darce like he did against Renato Moicano. We know Islam Makhachev is elite on the ground, man. This is by far the best grappler that JDM has fought, but I also believe as good as of a fighter as a Prime Volkanovski is, he's got that lower center of gravity where, yeah, maybe you could make the argument that's a little harder to take a guy down like Volkanovski, right? Shorter, very strong, stout, good movement. JDM's a little bit more available to get into the hips than a Prime Volkanovski. But again, there's a little bit of a trade-off here, and I believe that is the fact that JDM is the best striker that Islam has ever fought. Well, I believe that Islam is the most complete fighter that Jack Della Maddalena has fought. But to me, it comes down to one key detail. Can Jack Della Maddalena stay safe on the ground? And if he can stay safe on the ground, does he spend a ton of time on the floor? Because if he does, obviously then you're going to be losing. But if he gets back to his feet safely without getting submitted, I feel like he's got the advantage on the feet, man. Now, again, we saw Bilal having success against JDM as well. So, like, people ruling out that Islam can't go out there and outstrike JDM, it's definitely a possibility. But I would like to believe one of the most elite boxers that we have seen in the UFC in Jack Della Maddalena, I think that he has the advantage on the feet, man. I think Islam is very good. I think that he's going to be maybe a smidge faster, right? The lighter guy coming up here. Adding on that size, I'm curious to see what it does for Islam when it comes to the speed on the feet, man, because I think that Jack Della Maddalena is a lot faster than what people realize at 170 pounds. He's not, this guy to where you come up and it's like, oh, well, I'm the lighter fighter, so I'm going to have all this speed and technicality advantage when it comes to the striking. Like, JDM's going to be a lot more technical than a lot of those guys, man. He just is, and he moves well for a welterweight. He's not the biggest 170er out there. So I feel like, to me, this fight comes down to the fact of, can JDM not get so antsy on the floor, try to create these scrambles? Even if he does, can he stay safe in those moments? Because what we have seen historically is Islam will make you pay in those areas. He will make you pay in those areas. He will capitalize on a scramble. Does it better than just about anybody in the UFC. But we've also seen Volkanovski in the first fight gave Islam fits. We saw an older Dustin Poirier, even though Islam was winning the fight and ultimately found the submission later on, we saw Dustin Poirier with his boxing giving Islam some problems, man. Even though Islam was outboxing him, Dustin was having some success, man. And you sit there and that's nerve-wracking when you're thinking about Islam in this fight. Because if you're getting tagged up by those guys, what happens when you're getting hit by a precise, cutting angles, shifting with the combinations, moving his feet, switching stances, creating these off angles where he can catch you with his right hand? Jack Della Maddalena is for real, man. Jack Della Maddalena is for real. Islam Makhachev is obviously for real. This is a massive fight, man. This is a massive fight. I still don't know who I'm picking. I think that it is that good of a fight. I have so many questions. We traditionally have seen fighters, when they move up to challenge for a second title, it normally goes their way, man. We saw Ilya move up, right? He was able to knock out Charles Oliveira. We've seen Henry Cejudo move up and win a belt. We saw John Jones do it. We saw Poatan move up and do it. The question is, can Islam Makhachev, who is a pound-for-pound all-time great at this point, can he move up to the 170-pound division and show JDM levels? That's what I cannot wait to find out at UFC 322.